your weekly view of young leaders taking big steps. This is Next Gen. Sponsored by PFI Western Wear, home of Boot Daddy. We're here in Stoutland, Missouri at Just Country Quarter Horses to meet Jacob Blank, the National FFA Proficiency winner in Equine Science Placement. Let's go hear his story.
So I'm from a little town called Richland, Missouri, and I grew up on a little diversified farm. We do a little bit of everything from pigs to sheep to cows to chickens and gardening, everything. But what really led me to my passion right here was with the horses. I started out just a little afraid, 8-year-old going into it. I finally got to where I am today, and I absolutely love what I do, and that led me here at the Just Country Quarter Horse Ranch.
Take me through, from that 8-year-old on up through high school, what kind of led you to not just coming to camps here, but working?
I started my FFA career, and I was like, I need an SAE, I need to do something. Always showed lambs, always showed hogs, but never really found a drive for it per se. Got over here to horses, and my trainer just started pushing me to show, and it all started with the second place ribbon in a walk trot class when I turned 13, and from then on I always wanted to push myself further and further, and my trainer saw that in me, and I started to see my passion grow. And she asked me, do you want to work over here, do you want to be over here pretty much full-time helping us? I was like, absolutely yes. Because if I can help other kids find their passion like I did, I'd want to be in for it.
What are some elements that you learned from your trainer that you've been able to pass on to the young and old?
The very first thing is that little kids are so much easier to help out with than the older ones. That passion and drive is there. Whenever they become young adults, we really start thinking of, where am I going to go with this? What is this teaching me on a day-to-day basis? And sometimes it's not, what we're doing in the saddle, why it's important, but sometimes it's more of, how am I going to apply this for my life? Am I going to be more patient with myself? Am I going to be patient with my horse? And then how can I bring that up? How can I challenge myself and my horse together?
True life lessons, not just how do you ride a horse.
Absolutely, yes.
So showing, I grew up showing cattle. My daughter's shown pigs and cattle, but never stepped into the ring seeking a ribbon when it comes to a horse. So take me through what you're training these horses and these young people to do in the show ring.
Absolutely. So everything starts with the person. The horse we can work on, but the person has to come first. With the person, we're always making sure they have good horsemanship, good attitude about the sport, that they're sitting up straight up there smiling and enjoying what they do. There's a saying in the equine industry, a horse can feel a little fly on its butt, so they can obviously feel what the person's doing as well. So we get them confident, sitting up there, loving what they do. The horse is going to love it as well.
Well, the last thing that you mentioned, and maybe it's most important, you talked about advocacy. You talked about really getting your feet wet in the industry and creating that passion. So take me through how you first got excited about advocating for the equine industry and how you've continued that as a young adult.
I started out with a little paint mare. Her name was Foxy, and I decided I want to raise a colt. I want to have my own foal. I want to raise it, train it, and sell it. And on I want to say it was my 10th or 11th birthday, my mare gave birth to my very first foal, and ever since then I have loved everything with equine. I've loved the reproduction part, I've loved the training part, and most importantly though is just working with the kids, seeing them go where I was at, seeing them just be so much more confident than what I was when I started. What are your dreams and your passions for the future? So, I've kind of thought about this for a long time. When I first started, I wanted to be a vet and an ag teacher. Going into my second year, I just wanted to be a teacher. Going into my third year, I took a reproduction physiology class, and equine reproduction has always been one of my favorite things. Like I said, is what started my passion out. So that's a possibility, but I think I'm going to have that as a side career while being an agriculture teacher, because FFA has made such a big impact in my life, from being the scared little kid that just wanted to do nothing but horses to the young man I am now with everything I want to do with agriculture, and seeing how and I grew up in a single parent family, and seeing how my ag teacher kind of filled that father figure for me, that just truly inspired me to be something more, knowing that an ag teacher is not just a 9-to-5, but rather something that wants to stick with you for the rest of your life.
Well, let's talk about you know, what led you to nationals, and that was your FFA career, your SAE. So, you know, you've worked here and you've got 5 years of records that you've been collecting, and you applied for the placement. So let's first tell me what the placement proficiency means, and then what you were able to put into that application that helped you stand out and compete against young men and women nationally.
Absolutely. So the placement proficiency I applied for was equine science placement. What that means is that I get to work with horses, work with people with horses, but I don't own any of them, but I do have a boss or a supervisor, and mine's currently Char Shelton. So as far as my application, what made me stand out in that was the fact that I did have a diverse application when it came to it. A lot of these kids were really good in their areas, but what made me stand out was I did both English, I did both Western. I advocated through the Missouri Quarter Horse Youth Association. One of my big things I went and did was evaluate equine on my own, and I learned how to actually selectively pick correct horses for certain areas. So whenever I found a passion and something I love for, to work with another future passion in my vision, I think that's what brought it all together and really made me stand out.